Hi, ladies. Happy Friday. I'm so glad you're joining us for Ladies Lunch, or if you're watching on YouTube, whatever time you're watching this, welcome. I'm super excited about today's topic. It's a little bit more freeform than normal. We're going to talk about comparison. I had a friend ask me in a private message if I've ever struggled with comparison, and it was just such a sweet question, and the answer is, oh my gosh, yes. And so I know that that's something that almost all women struggle with, and so I thought it would be just a great thing to chat about on a Friday lunch. So if you're watching this and you've got questions or comments, please feel free to pop in and make them. If you're watching this later, post a comment below. I'm always in the Facebook group every week, and so I'll see them and respond to them then. And if you're on YouTube, go to the Bringing Back Yay Facebook page to join the conversation. Okay, so comparison. Do I struggle with comparison? Yes, of course. I genuinely think every woman on the planet struggles with comparison. If you are someone who doesn't struggle with comparison, please message me. I would love to pick your brain on how you don't struggle with comparison. But I'll just tell you a little bit of my story with comparison and where that's led me and how I've found, one, to sort of preempt comparison, and two, to get out of it when I get stuck in there. So women are made beautifully. Like, that's just a period, end of discussion. The way we are created is stunning. And so we end up looking at people, whether it's women looking at us or men looking at us, we get looked at, and that's okay. And where it gets weird is when we start basing our worth off of what someone else looks like instead of what's good about us. So just my own story with comparison. I was a weird looking kid growing up. I was sort of a late bloomer. In high school, I had huge ears, and I was like not cute skinny, and was just like all elbows, and I had this big pointy nose. I still have a bump in it. It's one of the things I'm most self-conscious about. And I never thought I was pretty, ever. Like, elementary school through college, pretty was just not a way I would describe myself. I have a hilarious memory in kindergarten, actually. Oh, hi, Melissa. All of my friends, so this is kindergarten, I'm 5 years old, and all of my friends had grown their bangs out. So it was the period of time where bangs weren't cool, had like the straight across bangs. And so I decided one day that I didn't want my bangs. And so I took my headband and I pushed my bangs back. And for the whole day, I felt like super confident and cool, and I didn't have bangs, and I was feeling awesome. And then I remember we were lining up to go to art class, and I looked at myself in the reflection of the window that we were standing next to, and my bangs were like peacocking out above my headband. And at 5 years old, I just remember having this overwhelming feeling of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've looked like that all day long. Like, I've been walking around thinking I'm so pretty and I look completely ridiculous. And this like giant wave of shame washed over me. And I remember that so clearly. I was 5 years old, and I had incredible parents. I had parents who told me I was beautiful and lifted me up and encouraged me. So it's not like this had anything to do with any way I was raised. I think this is just one of the things that women deal with, and this happened to me at 5 years old, and I have a picture of it too. It looked so ridiculous. And literally from that moment on, like, I made an agreement, I think, that I wasn't pretty, and I believed that pretty much my whole life, all the way through college. And in college, I was an athlete. I was swimming 6 hours a day, morning practice, afternoon practice. And I had like finally gotten boobs. I was sort of a late bloomer. And I remember my junior year of college looking at myself in the mirror, and I was super fit and finally had boobs. And I remember being like, I think I may have finally made it. Like, right at this moment, I feel pretty. And my whole life up until that point, pretty to me was what pretty was to everyone else. Like, pretty on a billboard, pretty on the front of a magazine, pretty on, hi, Jules. Just pretty from what the world thought about it. And it never occurred to me to think about what was good about myself. I just always thought I didn't quite match up and I wasn't really pretty enough. So my junior year in college, I remember having this moment where I was like, yeah, okay, I think I finally made it. I think I'm pretty. Yes. And got out of college, graduated from college. I was no longer swimming 6 hours a day, and I started gaining weight fairly quickly because I'd never really learned how to eat well. I was always a swimmer, so I could eat whatever I want in whatever quantities I wanted. And I was always fine. And so getting out of college, I started gaining weight. I had no idea how to work out on my own because I'd always worked out with a team. I'd always worked out. I'd always been told exactly what to do, when to show up, and how to do it. And I'd never had to think about what I put in my body because it just always worked out. So I started gaining weight. And again, I have a memory of looking at a picture of myself where I'm like sort of standing sideways and my arm is scrunched down, and looking at my arm and going like, oh my gosh, my arm is huge. Like, that's not cute. And it's so funny. These are all the voice in my head. No one at any point in time, whether it was kindergarten or college or after college, said to me like, hey, you're beautiful, or hey, you're ugly. Like, this is all my own internal conversation. So I looked at my arm and I was like, man, I'm gaining weight. I have to fix that. And I had no clue how to fix that. So I just stopped eating. And I didn't eat for about a year and a half. If I'm honest with myself, it was a full-on eating disorder. It was never diagnosed. And I was able to kind of keep it under the covers enough that no one noticed. I would eat dinner with my parents and kind of like pick around the broccoli and eat a couple bites here and leave the rest of it. Or I just like wouldn't eat lunch. Yeah, so a year and a half of not eating. And I genuinely believe it's the grace of God. I woke up one morning and felt awful. I was so tired and woke up and was like, I can't keep doing this. I have to fix something. And so that started my own journey of figuring out how to eat for my own body without counting calories or doing any of these other things, just like what I could eat and maintain a weight that I felt confident in. And then starting the journey of like going to the gym by myself without a team, without my weight sheet, without a personal trainer having made anything for me. And I remember walking into the gym the first time and being like, ah. And so I started Googling stuff. I started watching videos, and I kind of just put together a lifestyle where I moved my body more days than I didn't. I started figuring out what foods made me feel good and what foods made me feel crummy. And then I'm a total nerd. And so I started doing research on like what foods actually fuel your body and what foods don't. And it took me about a year and a half to recover from a year and a half of not eating. But I ended up in a spot where I was actually healthy. I had energy. I knew what I was doing. And I really, for the first time in my life, like actually felt pretty. And to go back to the question on comparison, like it's still something that creeps in all the time, especially when I'm around like really strong, confident women. I kind of have to take a step back and remind myself, like, okay, I'm also strong and confident. And them being strong and confident as well doesn't take anything away from me being strong and confident. It actually adds to it. And I get to learn from them, and I get to tell them how incredible I think they are and what I admire about them. And that's been a huge shift for me, a shift from just like retracting into this tiny bubble of like, oh, just don't look at me, you're amazing and I'm not, to being able to stand next to people who I really admire and say like, you're amazing and I'm pretty cool too. So I want to talk about a couple strategies that have really helped me overcome comparison. And the first one is really, I've noticed that anytime I step into something new, that's when comparison comes the strongest. When something changes in life or when I step into something new. So a great example, thanks Jules, a great example is starting Playful Fitness. I've been an athlete my whole life. I know a ton. I've dealt with injuries. I've been personally trained. I have a trainer who taught me everything he knows. Like, I know what I'm doing. And I step into this world of personal training and start looking around at all these other amazing personal trainers and fitness people and instantly go like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like, I have to sort of put a disclaimer on everything I say, and like everyone else is better than me. And what I realized is like I just stepped into something new. And so that for me is an instant brain trigger, like, hey, comparison is going to come for you because you're trying something new, you're stepping out, you're being brave, you're being courageous. And I think the way that the enemy wants to crush us being brave and courageous is to tell us that we're not good enough, and comparison is the best way for him to do that. To look at someone else and say, hey, they're rocking it, I'm not, I must be less than. And so for me, anytime I step into something new or I try something new, I now make a mental note in my brain, comparison is going to come for me, and what am I going to do about it? And so anytime I step into something new, I now take my journal and I write down 3 to 5 sentences that are really true. So in the example of the personal training world, my examples are, I'm a certified personal trainer. I've helped a lot of people get fit and healthy, whether they were paying me or not. And I really know my stuff. Like, I know what I'm doing. And so when comparison comes for me and says, hey, you're not good enough, I go back to that list and I say, actually, that's not true. I am good enough. Here's what's good about me. And then I take it one step further and I say, that person is incredible. How can I either A, tell them that they're incredible, or B, learn something from them? And those 2 questions are like a grenade for comparison. It just blows it to pieces. One of my favorite things now is to find people who I admire and respect, whether it's on Instagram or on Facebook or and just in regular life, and send them a message or like call them over in the grocery store and be like, dude, I'm so inspired by what you're doing. I love it. I've learned this, 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 and this. And it just creates this incredible peer relationship that destroys comparison. And it's so fun. I've made some of my closest friends actually by doing that, just saying like, you're incredible. Like, I just want to hang out with you. And then all of a sudden their response to you is like, hey, you're cool too. Not that that's what I'm looking for, that's what I need to know that I'm okay, but it's a game changer. So yeah, my first strategy is to know that if I'm trying something new, comparison is coming for me. My second strategy is I have to have a weapon to combat that. And my best weapon is to keep what's true about me in front of me. One of my favorite ways of doing that right now is if we were in my room, I would show you, but I've created like a jewelry board where all my earrings hang and then my necklaces hang around it. And it's got 2 glass panes in it. And in those 2 glass panes, I have a one-liner from my identity statement written in it. So one of them is, I am a daughter of the King. And then the other one is Identity, Actions, Feelings, which is from a book by Eric Greitens called Resilience. If you have not read that book, it's incredible. That will definitely be a book in the Joyfully Fit program coming up. So if you haven't looked into Joyfully Fit, I'll put a link in this video, so you should check it out. But what I do every single morning is I pick out my earrings, which is funny, I'm actually not wearing earrings today, of course. But I pick out my earrings, I put them in my ears, and I say, I am a daughter of the King. And then I say, Identity, Actions, Feelings. And what Identity, Actions, Feelings means is every circumstance I go into, it starts for my identity, which I am a daughter of the King. I have worth, I have value. It has nothing to do with how good I am or what I do or what I did that day. It's I've got worth and value, period, end of discussion. And that identity affects how I feel. And so when I know who I am and I'm believing that, I feel confident, I feel beautiful, I feel alive, and I feel free. And when I feel those things, that determines my actions. And usually the actions I take when I'm feeling confident, alive, beautiful, free are actions towards connection with community, actions towards taking risks, trying new things, reaching out and encouraging other people. To flip that on its head, I feel like the way most people go through life are feelings, action, identity. So they feel a certain way, happy, sad, mad, angry. Let's just go with sad. Feeling sad makes you act a certain way. It pulls you in, it makes you withdraw. It makes you not interact, it makes you not take risks. And then your identity sort of is handed to you from the way you interact with the world. And the identity from that example would be like, nobody likes me, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes. So to flip that on its head on purpose, to start with identity, to let your identity determine your actions and determine your feelings and let your feelings determine your actions, is just a game changer. So do I still deal with comparison? Heck yes, all the time. And I've just, with a lot of years of practice, I've just gotten better at taking a step back and saying, hey, I recognize this is comparison. Comparison's not helpful. What's true about this situation? And then when I know what's true about this situation, how can I step out of comparison and lift someone else up, or remember what's true about me, or take a risk anyway, even though I'm terrified? Yeah, it just makes a massive difference. So if you struggle with comparison, you are not alone. It is a journey. And what I will tell you and what I really genuinely believe is that life completely comparison-free is possible. I've seen the fruit of that in my own life. I've seen the fruit of that in my clients' lives as they learn to believe in themselves and feel confident in their bodies and feel confident in who they are. I know it's possible and I've seen it. So yeah, comparison, life without comparison is possible. And you don't need to feel ashamed if you get stuck in comparison, because everybody gets stuck in comparison once in a while. So couple invitations for you. One, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, please do. It's at Playful Fitness. If you are curious about the Joyfully Fit program, the whole point of the Joyfully Fit program is to teach you how to move your body, how to eat, and to develop that inner confidence as well as that outer confidence. It's only $7 a month right now, so check it out. I'll put a link here. And then one more really fun invitation is I've got a group training program starting on September 10th. So that one's called Alive, Confident, Free. And that is the perfect combination of personal training, personal coaching without the price tag of personal training, personal coaching. And it's a 4-part program. So it involves workouts, food, confidence, so that inner work, and then habits. And the goal of that program is to help you go from 0 to fit and then keep that journey going after the 12 weeks. So check that all out. Check me out at www.playfulfitness.org. Comment below. I would love to hear what you're struggling with when it comes to comparison. I would love to hear your heart. I would love to hear your strategies for overcoming comparison. And just remember that you're beautiful, and I'm delighted to have you in this group. So I will see y'all later, and peace out.